Finally, Bobby Jindal speaks to the American public. Back when the Republican convention was going on, I was looking forward to seeing Bobby Jindal be the keynote speaker, so we would get to see what he would say to a national audience. So let's take a look.
I'm Bobby Jindal, Governor of Louisiana. Tonight, we witnessed a great moment in the history of our republic.
Hi, I'm Bobby Jindal, and I'm drinking milk, and one day I'm going to be president. Or how about, hi boys and girls, this is Mr. Jindal, and welcome to my neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Please, could Jindal be more condescending with his tone? I mean, he's talking to the American public, not a bunch of first graders.
Like the president's father, my own parents came to this country from a distant land. When they arrived in Baton Rouge, my mother was already 4.5 months pregnant.
Now see, here's an interesting twist. Bobby Jindal was conceived in India. Now, according to people who are pro-life, they believe that citizenship should start at conception and not at birth. So if citizenship should start at conception, then wouldn't those pro-life people be opposed to Bobby Jindal being president because he wouldn't fit the qualifications? Just wondering.
As the president made clear this evening, we're now in a time of challenge. Many of you listening tonight have lost jobs.
It is extremely hypocritical for Bobby Jindal to discuss those who lost jobs when he is stubbornly refusing to accept the unemployment funds that are provided to Louisiana in a stimulus package that will extend the amount of time that a person can collect unemployment benefits in this hard economy. Going on.
In Louisiana, we took a different approach. Since I became governor, we cut more than 250 earmarks from their state budget.
This is typical Jindal spin. He claims to have cut a whole bunch of earmarks, but in reality, 2/3 of the earmarks that passed over Jindal's desk, he did not veto. He left a vast majority of those earmarks in the budget. So don't believe him when he tries to act all high and mighty on earmarks, because very little of them actually got cut.
To create jobs for our citizens, we cut taxes 6 times.
Again, more spin from Bobby Jindal. He claims to have supported all of these tax breaks, but in reality he fought against them tooth and nail, at least some of them, until it became obvious that they were going to pass regardless of his help, so he jumped on the bandwagon. So don't take Jindal too seriously when he says that he was behind those 6 tax cuts, because he wasn't.
To strengthen our economy, we also need to address the crisis in health care. Republicans believe in a simple principle. No American should have to worry about losing their health care coverage.
Really? No American should have to worry about losing health care? I call shenanigans.
Shenanigans! Shenanigans! Shenanigans!
See, when Bobby Jindal was head of the Louisiana Department of Health, he is credited with being the savior. But in reality, after the deficit was eliminated, he continued to cut medical services. He closed down clinics in rural areas. He removed access to health care for people who relied on the state to get the needed care to a tune of $200 million. That is $200 million of funds that could have went and should have went to people who needed health care but didn't. So tell me this, Bobby Jindal, when you were cutting that $200 million worth of health care, did you really believe that Americans shouldn't have to worry about losing health care? You didn't seem to be worried about it back then. In reality, you were just worried about padding your resume, showing people that, hey, you built up this wonderful surplus, and hoping that nobody would ask questions. Well, I'm asking the questions, and guess what? You proved that you did not care about people's health care back then, so why should we believe that you care about people's health care now?
We stand for universal access to affordable health care coverage. What we oppose is universal government-run health care.
One has to question why Bobby Jindal is bringing up universal government-run health care. Barack Obama did not propose universal government-run health care when he campaigned for president. He proposed providing a safety net and providing access to preventive care for those Americans who cannot afford health care for themselves and whose jobs do not provide it for them. Under Barack Obama's plan, People with health care plans that they like will get to keep them. They won't have government bureaucracies telling them how their doctors should treat them. Their medical decisions will be between themselves, the doctors, and the insurance companies that they currently have. Period. So the only reason that Bobby Jindal would bring this up would be either that he doesn't know what Barack Obama really proposed in the campaign, or he just wishes to mislead the American public. And knowing Bobby Jindal as well as I do, I suggest it's the latter, but I guess you can make up your own mind on that one.
To strengthen our economy, we also need to make sure that every child in America gets the best possible education.
Bobby Jindal considers the best science to include teaching intelligent design in the classroom. Moving on.
After Hurricane Katrina, we reinvented the New Orleans school system, opening dozens of new charter schools.
This was started during Kathleen Blanco's governorship and not Bobby Jindal's. Moving on.
And creating a new scholarship program that is giving parents the chance to send their children to private or parochial schools of their choice.
This is a pilot program that's only available to certain children in the New Orleans area and a very limited amount of them. And it's basically vouchers. Moving on.
To strengthen our economy, we must promote confidence in America by ensuring ours is the most ethical and transparent system in the world. Last year, we passed some of the strongest ethics laws in the nation. And today, Louisiana has turned her back on the corruption of the past. We need to bring transparency to Washington, D.C.
This is one of the issues that Bobby Jindal will mislead you about the most, and it will probably be the cornerstone of any national campaign he hopes to run. And that is the idea that he helped to save Louisiana's system of ethics and to help remove corruption from Louisiana. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, he did have certain ethics disclosures increased and increased the ethics reporting requirements of people in government. That is true. What Jindal will not tell you is that included in the legislation that Bobby Jindal signed was legislation that increased the burden of proof to convict people of ethics violations. Now, it doesn't matter how many ethics laws you put into place. If you make it harder to convict people of ethics violations, you have just made it easier for corrupt people to get away with unethical behavior. Period. So at the end of the day, his ethics laws that he passed were merely window dressing that hid the problem that still exists in Louisiana. That is, unethical people getting away with corrupt behavior. Now, the other thing that Bobby Jindal ran on when he ran for governor was transparency in government. He proposed that Louisiana government should be more transparent, and he even says that the United States government should be more transparent in this stimulus package. Well, guess what Bobby Jindal did? Bobby Jindal signed legislation as governor of Louisiana to remove his office from Louisiana's public records law. So, how do you get any more do as I say and not as I do than that? He is a hypocrite. He calls for increased transparency on others, yet he removes transparency from his office altogether. It is just hypocrisy, it is wrong, and I hope the American media will pick up on this fact because it is glaring hypocrisy to the nth degree.